All right, joining me now is my father, aka Coach Titus, who I booked onto the show. It's a very elaborate process to book my father onto the show, believe it or not. And I went through his representatives and booked him onto the program after Purdue lost to a 16 seed, because my father is the single biggest Purdue hater on planet Earth, and he was just cackling with glee when I called him after Purdue lost. But then as we went to book him, we said we should probably wait to see if the Hoosiers can beat Miami, and see what happens there. Because if something crazy happens in that game, we should probably reference it. And something crazy did happen, Dad. Indiana got their asses kicked. So I guess I
Hmm.
start with the obvious question. How are you feeling right now in this moment after Indiana's season just ended like 10 minutes ago, but also Purdue lost to a 16 seed? What emotion is winning out right now for you?
Purdue losing to a 16 seed as a 23 and a half point favorite.
I am not
IU is a
surprised in
point.
the slightest.
IU is a point and a half favorite, so I'm not surprised that they lost the way they play. Miami had so much tournament experience and so much more quickness than we had, so that's okay. We're on our way. Transfer portal is my two words for you.
All right. All right. And you beat Purdue. Like what I guess like what I don't know how to phrase it. Like where do you fall on like um how far does Indiana have to go to where you would be fine losing to Purdue if it meant doing like what's the trade-off in March versus beating Purdue? Like the reason I bring it up, you lose to Miami in the second round, but also you beat Purdue twice this year. Purdue loses to a 16 seed. So how much of your emotion, like, do you feel like this was a successful season for Indiana given that, or are you like under? Yeah, do you feel disappointed in how it ended?
Well, the only hope I have is we went one step further than last year, so we're making progress. We're
Okay,
not
so
back, but
just
we're gaining on this thing.
four
But
more years, you'll be.
I thought the Purdue wins were a pretty big deal until you start looking at what they did this year, and they really weren't that good. So, there were two teams in the Big Ten ranked in the top 25 to end the season, IU and Purdue, and Purdue never beat IU. So that's how things went. I think Purdue, I know they did. They had 10 wins this season by 5 points or less.
Yeah.
So, overtime at Nebraska, Ohio State, they needed a buzzer beater. They really didn't beat anybody except early in the year when they beat Gonzaga and Duke.
Where uh where were you when Purdue lost?
Where was I when
Yeah,
Purdue lost?
yeah.
I was here with your mother. Actually, I was in the living room because I didn't want to watch it. I watched the first couple of plays of the game, and I think I counted to seven with Edie in the lane, and I said, "That's it. I'm not watching this stuff." So I went out in the living room. She was in the TV room watching it, and I stayed out here and ended up talking to your grandfather the last 2 minutes of the game.
So,
I'm
um,
not watching that stuff. I didn't want to watch them win, pull another one out.
but then they didn't.
I know, but that's
Yeah.
okay. I could watch the replays. It's okay.
So you
And
weren't
yes,
even
this is
so at Purdue's lowest moment, you weren't even there to see it. You didn't even see it.
I was there. I got play by play from Grandpa. It was good. He was on top of it. He was emotional. He was right there with me, but I didn't want to see him. I don't want to see him celebrate and I turn the TV off and be mean to your mama.
Um so where do you go from here? Where does Purdue go from here? Where does where does the rivalry go from here? I mean, like I guess like I was in a position when we went to the first IU Purdue game,
Right.
and Purdue was
Same
ranked
sweatshirt.
number one. The Hoosiers beat Purdue. It was one of the happiest days I've ever spent with you. And I felt like the Indiana Purdue rivalry was in a position to really, especially with Carolina and Duke kind of falling off this year.
Right. Right.
Indiana Purdue was in a position to catapult itself into the national spotlight. Um, and then March happened, and now here we are. So where does the rivalry stand now?
I don't think there's still much of a rivalry, Mark, if you start looking at the facts of the matter. The Purdue people want to run their mouths and talk about our dusty banners. Well, let me give you a little information. The dustiest banner of ours is 1940, our first national championship, which, by the way, was the year Bob Knight was born. And the other fact is that's Purdue. Purdue won the Big Ten that year. Purdue has won 25 Big Ten championships, right? 12 of those were 19 before 1940. 13 of them, obviously, or 15 of them, 12 and 13. So 13 of them since 1940. IU has won 19 Big Ten championships since 1940
Mm.
and five national championships. So for all those people talking about our dusty banners, they better clean their own house up and dust their little banners off before they talk to us about our dusty big banners.
What do you know
So
about
the rivalry's still not. I mean, it's still nothing to me. I'd rather beat Kentucky.
what do you Y- uh, the
That's
rivalry
a
is nothing, and yet you couldn't even watch them because you didn't want to see them win against the 16th seed. And then when they lost, you were just cackling, laughing.
fact.
Um, what do you know about Purdue's schedule this year? Because every time I talk to you, you said this yesterday when I talked to you after the day after Purdue had lost, and we given it some time to digest and all that. You were talking about how you weren't surprised because Purdue wasn't even that good this year anyway. And you
No,
start
they
you
weren't.
start spouting off like schedule stuff that they didn't deserve to win the Big Ten.
Well, they never played. They never went to Iowa. They never went to Illinois. They never went to Rutgers,
Mm-hmm.
and they only played Northwestern once. And they
Mm-hmm.
never beat a team that finished the season ranked in the top 25 in the Big Ten. So how good can they be? I mean, who did they beat? They beat Duke and Gonzaga, like I said. They beat them early in the year. But other than that, they won. Telling you, they won 10 games by 5 points or less all
So
season.
so it feels like you want to argue that this wasn't even really an upset at all.
No, heavens
That
no. I don't
Purdue
know why Purdue fans are
loses.
so bothered. It wasn't that big a deal. You know what? When you start looking at the folks here, we need to release the votes. I mean, the ballots. These people that vote for these teams to be in the top 4 or 5. I need to see who's voting who where because this is
You
ridiculous.
want to
And they
recount? We
lost.
got to see. We got to tally the yeah. I want to
Yeah,
see the ballots.
I want to see them. I want to see them. Because somebody, Purdue lost 2 in a row, and I think they stayed fourth in the country. Now, how's that work out? And they didn't beat anybody. They were what 4-4 their last 8 games or something,
He
and they
does.
stay
He does.
and they're a 1 seed. Who's doing this stuff?
This is my favorite thing about my dad is he will out of one side of his mouth say he doesn't care about the Purdue rivalry at all, and then on the other side he remembers every stat that's ever existed with Purdue basketball off the top of his head. He's got no notes. This is just straight off the top of the dome.
Yeah,
Remembers I don't know how many times you've told me that pre 1940 stat and post
no,
1940
exactly.
and all that
It's
sort of
all.
thing.
Hey, I don't. You can't reason with those people, so you might as well try to throw facts out there and confuse them.
What are your what was the Purdue? You have a ton of Purdue fans in your life, including the woman you married, which is the older I get, the funnier that reality gets to me. Um, so as someone who interacts with a ton of Purdue people day to day, what has your experience been like the last couple days since they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson?
Well, they've been pretty quiet. I haven't heard from any of them until tonight after the IU game.
Suddenly
One of them said,
their phones started working again.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, Mark. The reason I married your mother, she's the tallest woman I knew at the time, and I was hoping for basketball players and tall kids. And if I'd have known you wanted to play big time basketball, I'd have tried to find a 6'4" woman to marry. But I couldn't. So your mom was the best I could do. So, but the Purdue folks have been pretty quiet. I go to a fitness center and walk every day. Purdue shirts everywhere last week. Didn't see a one yesterday.
Mhm.
Not a one.
Mhm.
So that's
So
the way it is around.
do you feel like you have infinite ammo at this point? Like if Purdue beats Indiana, the next 15 times in a row, you will have you still feel like you're fine. You're set. Cuz that's
You know
that
what? Yeah.
for those of you
They're not
listening,
going to
he's
win
just
5 in my lifetime, Mark.
for those of you
So if they
listening, he's just holding up the number 5. He's just holding up 5 fingers counting Indiana's banner. They're not going to win 5 in your lifetime.
Purdue's not going to, so that I'll die happy, man. They
Um
win one, okay. They're still behind.
I think like what was Mark Twain's quote about like when I was 18 I couldn't believe how little my father knew, and then when I was 23 it blew my mind how much he had learned in 5 years or something. I'm butchering it, but it's something like
So,
that.
yeah,
That's how I feel about you and Purdue is like I was raised on this propaganda and Kool-Aid that Purdue men's basketball is fraudulent and they're chokers, and no matter how many times because like in the 90s they won I vividly remember the three-peat when they won 3 straight Big Ten tournaments or Big Ten championships, I'm sorry, regular season. Big Ten tournament didn't even exist then, did it? Uh and
no,
and I remember the T-shirts with Purdue Pete and it says 3-peat and they spelled it Pete, and like it was
yeah, it's
Purdue
cheap
Pete.
stuff.
I remember all that stuff, and I also remember you telling me every step of the way, none of this matters. They're going to choke in, in March, and this is how. And I was like, man, he really seems convinced of this. And then even when Matt Painter takes over, and the Robbie Hummel era, and the Carson Edwards era, and all these different eras of Purdue basketball where they've had some really really good teams, every single time that Purdue has gotten good. I've talked to you about it, obviously, and you've just said the same thing. I'm not worried. They will find a way to choke it away in
Right.
March. And now in 2023, as we sit here on the heels of Purdue losing to a 13 seed, a 15 seed, and a 16 seed, I'm
Yeah, just look
thinking
at the facts.
this whole time I thought my father was just like deranged about Purdue basketball. As it turns out, he
No,
might be onto something.
no, yeah. You look. I thought they'd run the table last year. They had so much talent, so much more talent than they have this year. And these people, like I say, Mark, they keep. I'm going to give you some other Big Ten stats. You know who won 4 Big Ten championships before Purdue did?
Who?
University of Chicago.
What does that mean? So what would you?
Before Purdue won one, because
What?
they're counting 25 of them from back in 1911s when they won their first one. IU won their first one in 1926. That's a 15-year head start.
Oh,
Don't talk to
okay,
me about
okay.
don't talk to me about championships and banners. They've done that every year. You know what? Listen, the Big Ten tournament, they act like that's a big deal. They beat a 9, 10, and 13 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I told a Purdue fan buddy of mine, I said it would have been harder to drive to the trophy shop and buy one of those trophies than it was to win that one. So don't tell me how good, because all those Purdue fans bought into all that propaganda put out by you media types. By the
Yeah.
way, did you all get paid for the last 2 days in the casino?
We did, yeah. Believe it or not, we all of our winnings went straight to our bosses at Penn Gaming, though. Or
Well,
all
let
of
me know when there's
all the money they paid us, we sent it right back to them with terrible wagers. But yeah,
well,
yeah,
that's nice.
we got paid for that. I tried my best to not be a Purdue hater. I thought like this year, I mean, I thought that they had a team that you would somehow appreciate because they early in the season they were moving the ball a bunch. They had like non-NBA guys. So like if you're a romantic about college basketball and the one and done era has ruined
Right.
college basketball, all that sort of thing. Like a Purdue team you look at and you're like, well, hey, listen, these guys are all 4-year guys. There are a lot of in-state kids, a lot of motion offense with them. It felt like a very likable team. You saw it differently. This team was never likable to you. Was there ever a point in this season where you thought, I don't
No,
really hate this Purdue team that much?
no. I will tell you, I didn't like what they chuck up threes and they dunk. I always said Matt Painter's a genius. He got a 7'4" guy that can jump 3 inches off the ground and dunk a basketball from a foot away, and then complain about every foul that they get on the guy. And then they chuck up threes. I want to see Shafino. I want to see Sensabaugh hit an 8 foot, 12 foot jump shot. Show me some skill. I mean, show me some skill,
Bring back
guys.
the mid range, you're saying.
That's right. And you
Yeah.
know what? Take that 3 point line away, take that shot clock away, and let's play some basketball
Oh no.
where you have to have some skill to play the game,
Oh
because
no.
that's a lack of a lack of skill at Westlight. I didn't enjoy watching them play. No. And I don't think any Big Ten official was able to count to three all
I
season long.
I would agree with you on that one. I think every Big Ten fan will agree with you on that one.
My word.
All right. Well, we'll let you go. I wish you could have been a little better mood. On Indiana, you got to say something about Indiana. You got to give. In the interest of fairness, I am a journalist, Dad, as you know. So I would not be doing my job if I let you off the hook and didn't ask the tough questions.
That's the tough one.
So I can let you dance all over Purdue's great, but we have to address the Hoosiers. Are the Hoosiers a blue blood? Are you worried about the program? Um, Will Indiana ever get over the hump? Because Trace Jackson Davis will be leaving now. The guy who is one of the best. If you said he was the best Indiana basketball player since Bob Knight left, I mean, I don't know how you could disagree. I mean, Oladipo. I guess like you start getting into like NBA discussions because I don't think Trace is going to be an NBA All Star or anything. But his production in college is unquestioned. Now you're losing him. Well, give me your quick State of the Union address about the Hoosiers right now.
That's why I say we got to get in the transfer portal, get some experience, and get some athletic people. And you know what, Mark? It does. It comes down to money. We need to get Mark Cuban to write a check.
Yeah.
But Trace
Give
is
Mark
what. You know what? You know this. I told you I didn't. I was not impressed with Trace Jackson Davis early in the year at all. But he's really turned it on since what, Christmas or so,
Yeah.
running the floor like he does, and he beat up on some people as far as numbers. And but he's had a great second half of the season, and the guy certainly deserves to be an All-American. I didn't think he was the best player that's ever been lived in his dorm when he was a freshman, because he was not. I didn't think very impressive, but I knew he was
What,
going to
when he
be
was a
okay.
freshman, you mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
assume they lived in the dorms, but maybe not this day and age.
Yeah, you didn't love him as a freshman. You thought, I mean,
No,
he was putting up
no.
big numbers then though, but you just
Yeah, but he's still. Yeah. Show me some skill.
it is
Show
true.
me some skill. Show me some skill outside of 5 feet, of 4 feet, or whatever. You know.
He became like a point forward for Indiana at the
Right.
like he became like he became skilled, just not in a shooting way. And
Right.
I'm with you. It is frustrating to see Indiana on the front of the chest and have a guy that can't shoot. And you don't need him out there shooting threes, but like
No.
he can't shoot a jump shot.
No. Well, that's what I've said. You have him and Edie play horse, and they've got to shoot 10 to 15 foot jump shots, no free throws. It'd take them at least 3 days to finish the game. Neither one of them's got skills enough to put it, to stick it in the hole that way. But I will give Trace credit. He learned to handle the ball and get up and down the floor. He ended up being a really, really good passer.
Mhm.
Obviously his shot blocking skills are unbelievable. I hope that translates in the NBA and they find a place somebody to use the guy.
Yeah.
But I think I use in great hands with Woody. I think it took Woody some time. I'm not so sure at the beginning of the year when they lost that he didn't think it's like an NBA schedule. Well, we lost tonight, but we're going to play 3 more games before Sunday.
I
You
I
know,
I do feel that about Woodson a little bit. That like even losing to Miami, I wonder if he's like, that's all right, best of 7. We drop game 1. We'll get him.
yeah, yeah,
He's just so
yeah.
used to NBA life that it doesn't fully click that it's a single elimination tournament here.
Right. Well, I think I've tried to follow Gordon Hayward. I think the Charlotte Hornets were 22-50 at one point. Now tell me that winning matters and losing hurts because neither one of those is true.
Yeah.
And I think Woody I do. I think he just was. But I think Woody's done a nice job and got things going. Now we'll see if he can recruit and get some kids in here. So
Two final questions. If Purdue tomorrow fires Matt Painter, what is your thought? What is your first thought? They're not going to, obviously. This is a thought exercise. I don't want people to take it the wrong way,
Mark,
but yeah.
I think Painter's a good coach, but I've said many, many, many times, you take Thad Matta's resume and Matt Painter's and put them side by side and take the names and schools off. Everybody in your company is going to pick Thad Matta's because he went to 2 Final Fours in 13 years.
Mhm.
Painter's been to one Sweet 16 or Elite 8 maybe in 19 years.
One Elite 8,
And
yeah, with Carson.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think I don't, how many schools are going to keep that? How many schools are going to let a guy do that? And I think Purdue is fine with them being good and winning Big Ten little banners and and winning regular season games. I do. I think they're okay with that, but I wouldn't. I think Matt's probably a great guy. At the IU game, he ripped into every call ripped into the officials, and then at the press conference, he's a gentleman's gentleman. I said, if you're going to be a jerk, be a jerk be like Knight, be a jerk the whole
Well,
night.
he was after losing to Fairleigh Dickinson, he stuck around and
I
faced the
know.
music with the media.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
He
sucked
was a
up to
great
all.
guy.
Yeah,
That's what
oh yeah, yeah.
he knows
Great
how to
coach.
yeah. Yeah.
How many national people have you ever heard call Thad a great coach? And he is, because I've seen him and I've been around him. But everybody thinks Painter's a great coach and done a great job just because he's been there.
Yeah.
And then, Thad won 5 Big Ten championships and 4 tournament championships, I think. But it's just so Painter being fired. I would be looking or at least consider it if I was on their board. I mean, you
But would
have to
you,
at
as an
some point.
Indiana fan, if they did it, are you happy or are you sad?
Yeah, I don't care either way because they're not going to find it. Who's going to go to that godforsaken place? Who they who they going to hire to go to West Lafayette? Robbie Hummel.
Last question. Michigan State is the lone Big Ten team left in this NCAA tournament.
That's unbelievable.
Do you feel any ounce of conference pride in the sense of
I do.
does it matter a lick to you whether Michigan State moves on in this thing or loses by 100 their next game?
I do, Mark. I think I'm all about Michigan State. I think Izzo, for many years, I mean, there were many times where he wasn't even in the Final Four of the Big Ten tournament and was in the Final Four of the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
At one point thought the guy took a dive in the Big Ten tournament
Oh,
so
he
they could
does.
rest.
Nothing makes Tom Izzo happier than losing in the Big Ten tournament. That's the
Yeah,
happiest
yeah,
he ever is. Yeah.
and it's proven to be accurate.
Uh-huh.
And the teams that played three games in a row. By the way, congratulations to Ohio State this year for winning the same amount of Big Ten games, tournament games that Purdue did. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, we did. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Ohio State won 3.
we won 3 and they won.
And they won 3.
And we beat
And you
better
beat high.
teams. We beat better
That's
teams.
exactly. Amen.
Yeah, yeah.
Amen.
Where's our trophy?
So yeah. Where's our hang a banner? Hang it up. But no, it was a fun season for the Hoosiers to have some hope and to see them win some games. It's like you and I talked about. Purdue's what? They're 4 or 5, 6 shots away from being 9th or 10th in the Big Ten. And IU, Ohio State's about 5 or 6 shots away from if they make them, they're in the top of the Big Ten, and that's just the way the Big Ten was.
The Big Ten
this
was
year.
way more even than the standings would lead you to believe. Yeah,
right.
Purdue was not head and shoulders above everyone.
No. People.
The narrative sort of formed that they were, and as it turns out, there was just a lot of mediocrity in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah.
a lot of mediocrity.
I'd hate to say it, but again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so I'm excited for the Hoosiers. I think we're heading the right direction with Woodson. I think we'll continue to improve. I think kids will continue to want to go play for Mike. Great guy, runs a class program, cares, makes them work, no apologies, does things the right way. So hopefully we'll move forward and go on. So
all right. Well, if nothing else, you guys lost to the ACC champion. ACC
That's right.
regular season champion. Purdue lost to a team that finished second in their conference. The Northeastern Conference,
and never lost to we never lost to the Big Ten champion.
Yeah, there you go. Hang the banners.
Hang the banners. But my goodness, did we have some frustrating losses but every team does that. And Purdue, good for them for winning the close ones. To have a great record, you have to.
But that's the beauty. That's the beauty of me observing you as a basketball fan, is that you cheer for a team that in the last 30 years has come up short a lot and choked a lot, but you always will take solace in the fact that you don't choke as badly as Purdue.
That's right.
And so to watch you process it sucks we lost in the second round. I thought this IU team would be better this year. I thought, yada, 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 but at least we didn't lose to a 16 seed.
You know what, Mark? And Purdue was healthy all year. Those kids played together every game. 32, 33 games together they played. Never were injured. I mean, they had a health, and good for them. They were healthy all year. IU wasn't, Butler wasn't, Ohio State. They played Ohio State and barely beat Ohio State, right? Without Ohio State's 2 best players.
Yeah.
So anyway, if I can, like I said, we've got 5 banners. They've got 9. I'll die a happy man as I get older. I'm not worried.
All right.
So,
all right. Well, thanks to any Indiana women thoughts. You watch?
I like them. I like their chances. I'll certainly be watching them as much as I watch the men's NCAA. But you know how I am. I'll watch the NIT tournament too, and the CIB and the CIT and the CBS and the ABC.
All right, Dad.
All right, Marco. Love you,
buddy.
Thanks
for coming on.
All right.
Yeah, this was fun. You debuted on the show. You've been on a bunch of the old shows, but introducing you to a new audience. Coach Titus, resident Purdue hater. If anything happens to Purdue, this is the man we call. All right, love you, Dad.
But I love your mama. So where you go.
All right.
All right.
Love you, Dad.
Take care, buddy.
See ya.
See you soon.